Hello everyone, welcome back to Cognisolver.
Now we'll customize this for our need. So for that we'll go to our code block. I'll just minimize this one. Okay, so you see this index.html. This is where our starting point of the application. Now we'll go to app section, and here this app component.html. So whatever you are seeing over this browser, these all things, these are all coming from this app component.html. So we'll do what? We'll just do Control A and we'll clear all, and we'll just write a simple h1 tag. We'll say hi, this is Angular Charts tutorial, right? You see, now this has been replaced by our h1. So we can do whatever here in app.component.html, and it will be reflected there. You can make several more components. We'll get to that later point of time in this tutorial. Okay, so we'll start by the first our home page. Okay, so for that we'll have a container here. Okay, so I'll make a container. Inside this we'll have buttons. Then after the buttons we'll have a view, right, where we'll load the charts. Correct. Now inside the buttons we'll have multiple button. So button, and we'll give a router link to this. So router link does what? Basically we have to define a routing module for this. So whenever this py-chart is been called, so with what component will be loaded into the DOM. So that is what this router link does. So on clicking of this button, this particular router link will be activated, and based on that, based on our routing module.ts, we'll define which route will load which component. So we'll see that once we get there, and then we'll add one more property called router link active, so that if this router link is active, then this particular active class will be automatically added to this particular element. Fine. This is pie chart. Now if we go back to browser, we can see a button with a pie chart written over it. Now we'll similarly create 4 more buttons for 4 other charts. I'll just quickly copy paste it 4 times more. Perfect. Now we have our buttons. If you see, we have our 5 buttons here. For view, inside view we'll have one more button, which is our home button basically. Yeah, and we'll give the router link as empty, means if nothing is there, fall back to home component, and we'll give a conditional class here, that is, we'll define like this. We'll say class dot active. When it is going to be active? Based on the value we are going to provide now, that is show home button. Now show home button. Yeah, now we can see this, it says failed to compile. If we check our terminal, we'll see this message, failed to compile, because this show home button doesn't exist. See, show home button doesn't exist on type of app component. So okay, we'll see that later. We have to define this show home button in app component.ts file. Here you have to define that. Okay, and before that, I just one line I'm going to add here, that is router outlet. Okay, so whenever this any button will be clicked or any routing will be changed, so this router outlet will load that particular component here, this line 11 automatically. Okay, now about this error. So open our component.ts file. Here we have defined title already, by default Angular charts. Then we'll say show home. So you know what, we'll copy it from here so that no spelling mistake. Show home button. And what kind of variable it's gonna be? It's gonna be a boolean, and by default it's gonna be false. Error is removed now, and if we go back, now we have this pie chart, bar chart, double chart, line chart, double line chart. Now we have 2 double line charts. So basically we have to change the value here. It will be home. Correct. Okay, now we will add some styling to our home page. So let's quickly add those. First of all, I'll do what, I'll just open these two tabs side by side. Perfect. Right now if we click, nothing happens, right? So we have to listen the click events on these buttons. Okay, so for that we have to do some changes in our app component.ts file. So basically we have to implement on init, because we need to add these event listener to these buttons on the load of this component. So we'll have to implement on init. Right, and now once we implement on init, we need to implement its method, that is ng on it. So we'll do ng on it. Fine. Okay, now we will select the buttons basically. So const buttons which are in the document dot query selector all will do. And what is the query will be there? So inside container we have buttons, right? So with that we'll get the buttons, and then we'll get one more button, our home button. So we'll const home button, we'll do document dot query selector. Now we'll not do query selector, or we'll do only query selector, because there is only one home button we have, which is inside view, and this button. Fine, inside view we have only one button, so there we have our home button as well. Okay, now we'll check if buttons are there. Okay, so just to avoid null pointer exceptions, so if buttons are there, then we'll do buttons dot for each, right? For each button we'll write an arrow function. We'll say take that button and add an event listener to that. Okay, now what kind of event we're going to listen? Obviously it's a button, so we're going to listen a click event, and on that event trigger passing an arrow function to execute, which will do what? Which will simply do this dot show home button equals to true, so that our home button will be visible. Fine. Okay, now similarly for the home button also. So if home button is there, we'll do home button dot add event listener. We'll listen a click event, and we'll trigger an arrow function on that click happened. We'll simply say this dot home button, this dot show home button equals to false. Fine. Now if I click on this pie chart, see this home button is visible. If I click on this home button will disappear. If I click on any of the button, this home button will be visible, and if I click on the home button itself, this home button will be disappearing. Okay guys, so this is where I think we're gonna stop this video. This is the first project setup, and initial coding has been happened. From the next videos onwards, we'll see how to make components and render them inside a different component. Just like this is our app component, so we'll make different components like a message component, or say a bar chart component, pie chart component, and then we'll render them inside this view, our view component. Okay, so yeah, that's it for this video. Let's meet in the next one. Till then, keep coding and keep learning.